I like mecha anime.
I'll kill you.
I build Gundams. I play Battletech. I mourn Titanfall. Gone too soon. What I'm getting at here is I dig giant robots. You dig giant robots. Chicks dig giant robots. If it has a mech in it, it automatically elevates a story. I don't make the rules. Except for here. Who thought this was a good idea?
I'm the Avatar! You gotta deal with...
For decades, mechs have been a staple of animation. And for decades, that's really all they could be. Or, if anything else, pieces of plastic that nerds put together. Like me. When it came to live-action representation of mechs, there weren't a lot of options out there. Mechs had to either be guys in suits or stop motion. It was only with the invention of CGI that mechs could be imagined in a new light. Yeah, throughout the 2000s, Hollywood movie mechs just kind of followed the same design. There wasn't anything that even slightly resembled mecha. Which is why when one movie came out, a movie that focused entirely on giant mechs fighting things, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Something that even to this day, still feels truly special. Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim is not a perfect movie, but it's a movie that sets out to do one thing really well, and that thing is mechs and kaiju killing each other. Pacific Rim is straight out of the mind of a nerdy 10-year-old. Giant monsters are destroying the world, and there's only one thing that can stop them: giant robots. It's an almost laughably simple idea. Not all plots need to be overly complicated, they just have to be executed well. Pacific Rim isn't great just because it has kaiju fighting mechs. Pacific Rim is great because it knows how to show kaiju fighting mechs. It knows what the audience wants. Is it perfect? No, but you can tell there was a lot of effort and thought behind every inch of this film, even the parts that don't look it. Sometimes action cheese is all you need, and Pacific Rim is a bunch of queso, full of a love for kaiju films and love for mechs. And it's all thanks to a script written by Travis Beacham and a vision by director Guillermo del Toro.
This movie was made by people who love monsters and giant robots. For people who love monsters and giant robots.
It's like that single Krabby Patty SpongeBob made in that one episode. You know the one. That's an energy that can't be infused, no matter how many millions studios throw on a budget. So what is this big dumb robot movie actually about? What is a Pacific Rim? Why is there a rim in the Pacific? Is it because I drove that school bus into the ocean? Underneath that kaiju costume, Pacific Rim is, at its core, an alien invasion movie. Just no alien movie you've ever seen. Who needs spaceships and flying saucers? Independence Day already did that. Can't top it. No, sir, these aliens aren't coming from space. They're coming from the ocean, creating a wormhole at the bottom of the Pacific. But not to send themselves. Oh no. Like a Minecraft mob generator, they send monsters. Or I guess if we want to be technical about it, kaiju. As strange as that idea sounds, you have to admit, it's not a bad plan. I think we've all been reminded fairly recently just how much pressure is at the bottom of the ocean. Good luck sending anyone down there to stop them. It'd probably be easier just nuking a spaceship in orbit. At first, everyone is just powerless to stop these attacks, and the kaiju just keep coming. Any city around the Pacific can be flattened by a giant crab at a moment's notice, and traditional weapons just aren't cutting it. So a solution is thought up. An action that will stop the monsters once and for all. Nukes. Wait, what? Oh, they're not nuking the monsters. That would destroy the city too. Since when? Alright, well, I guess we gotta go with the giant mech plan then. I guess. If you want to be boring. Like the movie tagline says, to fight monsters, we created monsters. And those monsters were Jaegers. Remember when nobody in America knew what the word Jaeger was? Better times. Jaegers are big. Bigger than your typical humanoid mech. Except for Gurren Lagann. Jesus. In the span of a few years, the Pacific nations all band together to make bots the size of 40k Titans. If you've ever wondered what a Titan would look like in a modern day city, well there you go. And if you don't know what a Titan is, imagine a Jaeger with a church on his back. It's like that, but not at all. Jaegers do their jobs pretty well. They make the kaijus look like little bitches. And for a time, the giant robots just keep winning. Until they don't. I just watched this movie and I forgot what his name was. Kinda tells you all you need to know.
I'll see you around, Raleigh.
Raleigh isn't obnoxious or anything. He's perfectly fine. Acceptable. A generic protagonist. He'd be the main character in any 7th gen shooter. In a movie that has so many creative decisions, it's a little disappointing the main guy we focus on is so run-of-the-mill. Apparently that was on purpose. He was meant to be someone the guys in the audience would want to have a beer with. Sure, I guess. Raleigh's kind of an audience conduit. A blank slate for any dumb teen American boy to imagine themselves piloting a giant-ass mech with his Japanese GF. But as our film begins, Raleigh's co-pilot is his brother. Can't you tell how excited he is? Sure hope nothing bad happens that changes the trajectory of his life.
Only listen to me!
Dealing with the trauma of that happening, he officially retires being a Jaeger pilot. 5 years later, he's working construction on a wall.
The media won't tell you this, but we're building the wall.
Over the years, the Jaegers have been deemed a failure, and most, along with their pilots, have just flat out died. It's actually really grim. And apparently in this movie's lore, the year where things really started taking a turn for the worst was, 2020. Make of that what you will. So the backup plan is this giant wall instead, like an even bigger version of the walls from Attack on Titan. And just like in that, the wall proves utterly useless at the beginning of the story.
Why the hell are we even building this thing?
Raleigh is recruited back into the program, being one of the few pilots left who's not actually dead. And really that's kind of it. Raleigh's a static character. The closest to an arc he gets is trying to get over his brother's death. But he never really is that reluctant to get back into being a pilot. In some other movie, I would imagine they'd make him more apprehensive about finding another pilot, and it spends a lot of time on that whole thing, but not Pacific Rim. After a sparring session, Raleigh immediately is impressed and wants Mako to be his co-pilot. And that's it for his character. Like, he's good to fight for the rest of the movie. There is not one dilemma in that brain. I think that's kind of the point. Because even though the movie starts with Raleigh and uses him as the POV character to introduce the audience into this new world, this isn't his movie to have an arc. It's Mako's. Mako is the adopted daughter of Marshall Pentecost. In my opinion, Idris Elba's best role. Well, not really, but, you know, he is cool in this. Elba has such an aura of authority that outshines every other character.